Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the Frog's Leap Wine Vault winemaker dinner. And I really want to thank Chris and Mary for having me back again. I think we did a wine dinner, and maybe some of you were there about 3 years ago, and it sticks out in my memory. It was a legendary dinner, back-to-back nights in back-to-back rooms. I nearly died, but I still think I have a hangover. It was a great time. So hopefully some of you were there. Sorry I can't be with you in person, but hey, we're almost back to that, and lots of fun. I just saw the menu that Chef Gregory's put together for you all, and I am pretty jealous. I've just about had it with these virtual winemaker dinners, to say the least. I get to talk about the wines and drink good wines, don't get me wrong. But I'm looking at this menu going, what am I missing? So to that point, you know what? I really don't, as you guys know, like talking to people who've not been drinking. So I want everyone who's got a glass of the Sauvignon Blanc. Oh, I love the crisp twist of these screw caps. I'll tell you, these screw caps are making the wine way too easy to get into at home, and so we're really kind of digging it. This is the Frog's Leap Sauvignon Blanc. I want to get a glass, please, to go with these first couple courses of the wine. This is a perfect stand-in. Well, hi, Sadie. This is my dog, you guys. She'll probably be joining us for part of the dinner today. Whenever I open a bottle of wine, she is not far behind. She actually heard me talking about the food. But this is our 2019 Sauvignon Blanc, so please pour yourself a glass and let's get down to business here. Maybe some of you are new to Frog's Leap, so let me tell you, I'm the owner and the winemaker. We started Frog's Leap back in 1981, so we're actually entering our fourth decade. It's absolutely amazing. It's been a wild ride. We're a family winery. Actually, my kids are, particularly my older son, is running all of our vineyard operations now and starting to help out in the winemaking. So it's very much a family operation around here. Just to give you some idea, we're in the Napa Valley, right in the middle of the Napa Valley in the district of Rutherford, where we grow most of our grapes, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We farm about 200 acres of grapes, which gives us 900, sometimes as much as 1,000 tons of grapes, which can make 50 to 60,000 cases of wine. We sell it all over the world. It's been a wild ride. Frog's Leap has been my life's passion, really it. I didn't grow up in winemaking at all. Like so many stories in the Napa Valley, I got my prestigious start working on a dairy farm. I grew up on my family's dairy farm in Western New York, went to Cornell to learn how to milk cows better, had to get a job, and I got a job working in a winery. And I'll tell you guys, it was one of those moments in life where I walked into this winery, the big tanks of booze and pretty girls giving tour and not a cow in sight. And I went, I think I would rather do this than dairy farming. So that's how I got my start in the wine business, way back in the early 70s, making wines from Labrusca varieties, Concord, Catawba, and Niagara, and terrible wines, but I didn't know the first wines I'd ever had. But it didn't take me long to discover there were better wines, and it didn't take me long to discover the Napa Valley, which was just starting to emerge. The first new winery to be built in Napa was 1966, the Robert Mondavi Winery, and I'm talking about 1972 when I got interested in wine. So it was really just as Napa was coming along. And so I got so excited that on my spring break from Cornell, I found the cheapest way to get to Napa Valley was the $69 Ameripass on the Greyhound bus. It took me 5 days to get to Napa on my spring break. I had $40 in my pocket when I got out here. I didn't know anybody, I didn't have a job, and I wasn't even certain I was going to go back to finish up the last couple weeks of school. And that's in fact what happened. I decided to make it happen in Napa Valley. So fast forward from, that was 1975. It's been almost 45 plus years of living and making wine in the Napa Valley. It's been really quite a ride. I hope you're trying this Sauvignon Blanc because it really speaks to our style, and we actually put it right on our label: balance, restraint, respect for terroir. This idea that wine should go with food, that it should be ageable, that it should be crisp and bright and elegant. And really, we sell so much of our wine in places like the Wine Vault, where the ability to go with food is really paramount. And as I'm looking at this first course here with the seafood pasta salad, I'm just going, God designed this to go with this Sauvignon Blanc. I hope you're finding that to be the case. So we make about half of our production is white wine and half of our production is red wine, and we'll talk about that. We're having 3 of my wines today, but I'm certainly going to mention a couple of the others as well. But Sauvignon Blanc is our biggest production. It's kind of the beer that made Milwaukee famous, if you will. Well, except that it's not beer, we're not famous, and we're not Milwaukee. But other than that, this is kind of what we're talking about. So fresh, crisp, lively Sauvignon Blanc meant to go with this first course. Hope you're digging it. Mm. Oh my God, I'm a genius. That is really good. Oh, gee whiz. Well, I hope you're all enjoying it as well. If you know anything about Frog Leap, we're all about how we grow our grapes. We farm, as I mentioned, most of our grapes, including all of these grapes right here in Rutherford. But we were also early advocates of organic farming. And so we've been certified organic for 32 years, I think, this year. We were the first in Napa to certify our vineyards as organically grown. And, lots of people talk about organic now. Back in 32 years ago, it wasn't, believe me, it was kind of the provenance of hippies and back to the landers. But now it's a thank God, as more people are interested in it, more people are doing it. But I think the good question about organics is why? Why do we farm organically? Is it to save the earth or to keep ourselves safe from chemicals? And all those things are important, but that's not really the reason that we farm organically. We farm organically because it reconnects our vines. Organic at its heart and soul is a natural-based soil fertility system that allows for a balanced diet for our grapes. We kind of think of our grapes as living sentient beings, and so we want them to have a diet that is appropriate. And so if you can imagine eating, kind of a TV dinners with vitamin pills or so on, kind of processed foods versus eating a really balanced diet, it's really kind of the same for the grapevine. When we're farming organically, we're using cover crops and compost to build this beautiful, healthy soil with all this organic matter, which is the dinner, if you will, for our grapevines. And by having this balanced, healthy soil, it's like us. A healthy, balanced diet produces a healthy body, and a healthy body naturally resists disease. And that's really what we're trying to do with organic farming, is build fundamental soil health. Healthy soil produces a healthy plant. A healthy plant naturally resists disease. And so really what we're not necessarily trying to avoid the use of chemicals. We're trying to avoid the need for chemicals to promote health. Similar to our own health. If we don't eat well, if we don't get exercise, if we don't take care of our bodies, then we're off to the doctor for the steroids and the antibiotics and all the things you see advertised on TV with multiple disclaimers. It's kind of the same with the soil and the healthy plants. So organic farming is a huge part of what we do. And now, of course, we're all learning lessons about how organic contributes to a healthy lifestyle in general. So we believe it helps us make better wine, and we'll expand on that idea as the time goes along. So this is our Sauvignon Blanc. I hope you're enjoying it with the first course. And there's a transition course here that I think is almost even more exciting with this, because people ask me all the time what we'd serve with our Sauvignon Blanc, and my go-to is a goat cheese tart. And so I was so excited to see that Chef Gregory had put this on the menu. I know a lot of effort went into this with Chris and Mary too, to talk about this menu, but I think this course might just be perfect to go with the Sauvignon Blanc. I did want to mention our other white wine because for two reasons. One, if you have not tried our Shale and Stone Chardonnay, well, we don't have it tonight, I'm sorry to say, but it is, particularly if you don't like California Chardonnay, it is a spectacular drink. It's made in a much crisper sort of style, and if you'll give me a minute while we have our glasses up, I do want to toast a dear friend of mine who passed away last week, Jim Clendon, who started Au Bon Clement, who we have spent so many hours drinking Chardonnay together. He's an inspiration to me, and we lost him. He's an icon, and I know a big loss for the California wine industry. So whenever I talk about Chardonnay now, I'm going to have to get Jim's name into the conversation. But our Shale and Stone Chardonnay, if you have any around, I would try it with these two dishes as well. Made in a very, very distinct, minerally fresh style with a lot of reductivity and a lot of fun. You can pick up a little reductivity in the Sauvignon Blanc too, and that comes from leaving the wine on the lees, which we're doing a little bit longer every year, trying to get a little bit more of that kind of reductive, beautiful brioche toast sort of character in the wine. So I don't know which of these two dishes you're finding to go best with the Sauvignon Blanc. But I sure am glad you have both of them, and I kind of wish I did too. So Sauvignon Blanc and Shale and Stone Chardonnay, try them. Frog Leap white wines, we're very, very proud of them. But we have to drink red wine too. Yes, we do, because the next courses are coming up. So I'm going to put my Sauvignon Blanc aside and find the wine that I'm so passionate about. This has got to be everyone's favorite wine at the winery, our Zinfandel. In the morning, we drink this out of coffee cups. We drink it throughout the day. We'll take it home in little plastic cups for the road trip home. No, not really, but I mean, Zinfandel, I love this variety. And this is our 19 vintage of Zinfandel. And I just love this wine. We've been making Zinfandel since our very first year in 1981. Zinfandel has many, many, many styles. Of course, everything from white Zinfandel or rosé right up to the gnarliest, hairy-chested, 17% alcohol Zinfandels that a lot of people produce. This is very much in what we would call the claret style, a very fruity forward, very much designed to go with food. And this, as summer comes along and we're thinking about grilling and barbecuing and so on, this is your wine. A lot of people think, well, we'll drink the white wine in the summer and red wine in the winter. I almost reverse that, because I find that particularly with something like Zinfandel, if we can chill it down a little bit, that it is the perfect companion, particularly if you're dining al fresco or barbecuing or grilling or something like that. And Zinfandel's so friendly; it goes just about with everything. And I was looking at you guys have got the roast chicken and the porchetta. Both of those should be just spectacular with this wine. Oh my God, so fruity. We actually, Zinfandel's a little bit tricky to make because it doesn't really get this beautiful, you smell how just wonderfully fruity that is, these dark cherries, and oh my God, there's so much going on in this wine. But to get that level of aromatic expression, you really need the grapes to be fairly ripe. It's a big berry grape, and so you need to get it pretty ripe. And so we often don't pick this until it's 24.5, 25 degrees Brix, which means it's going to be 14.5 or 15% alcohol. But we cheat, to be honest with you, and we took the lesson from older growers who liked to have the big expressive Zinfandel, but they didn't want so much alcohol in their wine, so they actually planted other grape varieties in amongst their Zinfandel grapes, and then they would pick them all at the same time. And the lower sugar grapes, the Carignan and the Petit Sera and the Val d'Agay and the Mourvedre and so on, or even white varieties, would be lower in sugar, and they would bring the overall sugar down in the must, and thus you wouldn't get so much alcohol in the wine. So here you would have this beautiful expressive Zinfandel, but be more in the 13.5 to 14% range. I think this is 14.2 or something like that, just over that 14% level. And this allows you to drink a bottle because, a bottle shouldn't be, well, here's what I say. And why I don't like Magnum so much, because a Magnum is too much for one person, but not enough for two. I don't know what these little bottles are good for, but here we are, and that's what we're stuck with. Everyone decided on it, but you should be able to drink a bottle of Zinfandel on your own and still be able to stand up, and I think that's what you're talking about here, and I think that's really, really important, particularly if you're dining with it and having multiple wines. Now, a lot of people ask where we get the name Frog's Leap, and it's part of the story of this wine and part of the story of our founding, because when I did get off the bus back when I first got to Napa Valley, I didn't know anyone, but I had an address of the brother of a friend of mine at Cornell. She thought her brother had just bought a place out there. She didn't know how to get a hold of him, but she gave me this address, and I hitchhiked. No one was living there, so I just camped there. This is 1975. And sure enough, he showed up 2 mornings later on his motorcycle about 6 o'clock in the morning. What the hell are you doing in my property? And fortunately, I had a bottle of Zinfandel, and not the Frog's Leap, because we hadn't started. It was Sutter Home Zinfandel, to be honest with you. And I said, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, I'm about ready to have a glass of wine. And he said, well, I'll join you. He'd just gotten off shift as an emergency room physician. So we drank that bottle of Zinfandel and 2 others and decided to start a winery together. So this Zinfandel is very fundamental to what it means to be Frog's Leap. That man's name was Larry Turley, and so we started Frog's Leap together in 1981. Now, many of you know that Larry and I split in 1994, so we could each have our own wineries. So I'm sure some of you have had the Turley Zinfandels, which are really bold and expressive Zinfandels, and then I became Frog's Leap. So we were fixing up Larry's place, and that's when we discovered that it had been a frog-raising farm. So that's where the frog comes from in Frog's Leap, is because we were making wine at the frog farm. And the leap comes because Larry had some friends who were just bottling their first wine, 1975, and they needed some help. And so I became the first employee of Stag's Leap Wine Cellars. So I was the winemaker of record at Stag's Leap in 75, 6, and 74, 5, and 6. And so that's where the leap came from. There were a few grapes left over at Stag's Leap one day. We took back to the frog farm and made a 5-gallon jug of wine and drank most of it one night with a few friends while it was still fizzing. And somewhere during the evening, someone said, "This Frog's Leap, pretty good." And so the name stuck and has been with us for 41 years. So Zinfandel very much plays into the history of Frog's Leap and the culture of who we are. And a really interesting fact about this wine is that it's half of it's aged in barrels, and the other half is aged in small concrete tanks that actually hold 240 gallons or 4 barrels of wine. We're using a lot of concrete in the aging of our fruity red wines. Now we're experimenting it with a lot of different things, including Sauvignon Blanc. And we're really, really thrilled with the effect in this wine because it has built the body of this wine without the wine being heavy. And we're looking for that middle, for that thickness in a wine. And I think you get it in this wine. So it's not heavy in any way, and yet it's got some real texture to it. And I think it should be great. I can't imagine how good it is with that pork. I can't believe I don't have some of this food with me. This is pretty bogus. We're not doing this again, Chris. I'll tell you, you got to invite me for dinner the next time or I'm not talking. Here's to you all. Hope you're enjoying the Zinfandel. But now we bring out the big glass and the real wine, Cabernet Sauvignon. You know, how excited am I to try this wine? And I'm looking here, and we're going to have beef bourguignon. And I don't think we should call it beef bourguignon if we're going to have Cabernet with it, but you know, that's a small technical error. Maybe we'll call it beef Bordelon, Bordeaux alone. I don't know. We'll have to come up with a name for it. But the Cabernet should be perfect with the beef bourguignon. We can use some of that bad Pinot Noir to cook with, but we'll drink it. We'll drink a Cabernet with the dish. How's that? Cabernet Sauvignon, if you're in Rutherford, and we're right in the heart of Rutherford. Now, Rutherford, everyone thinks, oh my God, Rutherford, that's a huge area. It's 2 miles by 3 miles. We farm 160 acres in Rutherford. It's a big part of being Rutherford. So we're very, very proud to be here. If you know Rutherford appellation. So as you go up the Napa Valley, you go from Carneras, the lowest part of the Napa, up to Oak Knoll, to Yountville, to Oakville, to Rutherford, to St. Helena, to Calistoga. Rutherford's right in the middle, right in the heart, really. And if you think of Napa as being like an upside down Medoc, we're in Pauillac. And the wines show they have a tension, particularly the Cabernet Sauvignons here, have a tension, have a beauty that can't be reproduced anywhere else in Napa or anywhere else in the world. And that's really what you want in wine, this idea that a wine has a personality of place that couldn't be from anywhere else. And when I smell this wine, and I invite you to do the same, that smell, my mentor, this incredible winemaker named Andrei Chalyshev, described this smell as Rutherford dust. And I want you to smell this, maybe the first time you've ever actually smelled Rutherford dust, but it's an earthy, green, dynamic tension that really smells like the earth itself. And it's so distinctive. Literally, you can't reproduce this aroma anywhere else in the world. And that's what you want in wines. You know, our mission is to make wines of terroir, responsibly farmed, sustainably produced, and joyfully shared. And that's what you're seeing here. This wine is a wine of terroir, a wine that has a personality of place. And how do you get that? Well, because the wine drinks the water out of the soil, breathes the air, is crafted by the hands of the men and women working out in the vineyard, is aged in the dirt of Rutherford, in the cellar of Rutherford. It's like us. When we're from a place, we have a personality of that place. And that's what the greatest thing about wine is. And that's why Cabernet Sauvignon should be so exciting. Everyone talks about why they like to drink Cabernet Sauvignon, and they go, well, what do you really like about Cabernet Sauvignon? And it's a hard question for a lot of people to answer. Well, I'll tell you why I like Cabernet Sauvignon, because it expresses terroir like no other wine. And that's what's really, really, really special about it. So here we have Rutherford dust, earthy, delicious, wonderful, satiny. And when you taste this wine, It's like rubbing your hands across velvet backwards against the nap. Taste that. That texture is so characteristic of this beautiful place. And now this wine with food is unbelievable. My dog is barking and scratching to get in because every time I talk about Rutherford, I do that. So Jessica, why don't you go and tell, you're gonna sneak under the camera here. This is high production. Oh, she's coming in the other door. Oh, come on, Sadie, if you're coming in, come in. No, you're not coming in? You're confused? All right. Well, that happens to me sometimes when I drink Oakville wines or wines from other parts of the Napa Valley. But here we go. You want to smell this? Because you're from Rutherford, you know? No, you don't get to taste any. Rutherford Cabernet Sauvignon. I hope it's going with the beef as well as I imagine it would be. So making wines of terroir are fundamental to who we are as a winery. Also fundamental to who we are is the way we farm our grapes organically. Yes, we dry farm all of our vineyards, meaning we farm without supplemental irrigation, which was once common in Napa, but now is very, very rare. We consider if our vines aren't connected to the soil and aren't searching the soil for water, we don't see how they can develop this level of terroir. And then we have this unbelievable biodiversity of our farming system. We grow almost 30 other crops besides grapes. Peaches are our next big, we have peaches, pears, figs, apples, cherries, and honestly, you can't believe it until you come up and visit. And by the way, that is an invitation. Yes, we are open for business. We want you to come on up and visit with us to see this incredible place where these wines come from, because then when you enjoy these wines, you'll be connected to that place and you'll have that sense of terroir like you can't get any other way. So come on up and join us. I am going to come down and we will do a Wine Vault dinner in person again, I hope sometime soon. And come and visit this magical place. Check out the idea of becoming a Frog Fellow, which is the highest level of appreciation of Frog Leap. You can check that out on our website. And enjoy these beautiful wines. I want to thank Chris and Mary for inviting me back to share my wines with you. We're going to be cutting into this a few photos of our winery and what it means to be here. We hope that tempts you to visit, and I hope it tempts you to enjoy our wines in many other settings, in many other times, because my family and I are going to be here making these beautiful wines and waiting for you to come and visit and waiting for you to enjoy them for years to come. Here we go. Enjoy. Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm drinking the rest of the glass.